Hey guys, welcome to I Am Visible Pain. My name is Tim Tilley. Tonight I'm going to be talking about being a friend, being a true friend. I want to tell y'all a short story about something that happened to me when I was growing up in my teen years. Not proud about it, but I want to tell so maybe somebody will learn something from my mistake and not to let it happen again. Get right into it. We had, when I was growing up, we lived in this neighborhood where everybody knew everybody. And in the evenings, they'd say, well, we're going to go visit, and people would get out and walk in the streets, come out and walk and exercise, and they'd come sit on your front porch, talk, whatever. So one Friday night, I'd went out and I'd partied pretty hard and come home early that morning, passed out, woke up next day and had a pretty rough hangover. And before we got, at that point, I had this buddy that lived out the road from me, and he had, him and this girl that lived out there on the road, they had actually got married. And he moved in with her and her family, mother and father and sister and just a whole family. Well, he was in kind of a bad situation. They had that Friday night that I had took off, went done what I was going to do. He took off, and him and his wife had been having some problems, and they decided that they was going to go out clubbing. Well, they went to a club that night, and both drinking and partying and whatever. Well, he got to looking for his wife, and he couldn't find her. Got to searching everywhere in the club, couldn't find her. Decided to walk outside, and something told him to walk around behind the club, and he found his wife, and she was back there with another man in the alleyway, and they was having sex, and it was pretty bad. So anyway, they ended up, getting out of there, going home. Don't know the details on how he reacted toward what he found, whatever. But that next day, this guy, he was in his mid to late 20s. And I'm gonna say at that moment, I was probably 16, just had turned 17, just, young. And, this guy, me and him was pretty good friends, but he wanted to talk to me about, the struggles that him and his wife were going through. And I'll be honest with you, at that moment in my life, there's a lot of times that I listened to him, and a lot of times that, I just sat there and listened, and I didn't know what to tell him, because I had never been through nothing like he was going through, because everything that he would go through, that girl's mom, she was a beast. It was always his fault, whatever happened, and I'm sure she took up for her daughter when he come out and told what had actually happened. Well, then the next day, I'm sitting on the couch that Saturday morning, feeling rough. And I look, and there's a car coming around the driveway. And my first reaction, and I'm just going to be honest, I'm not proud of it. But this kind of stuff stays with you the rest of your life. And I said, oh, shit, I ain't in the mood to listen to this right now. So I hollered at my mama, and I said, Mama, just tell him I'm not here right now. I really don't want to get into this morning. I don't feel like hearing it. So I heard him knock on the back door. I run in the bathroom, close the door, and I heard her tell him, I said, he's not here right now. I'll tell him to come by. And I felt bad. I did. I felt bad for doing that to the man. And he got in his car, and I heard him say, tell him I really need to talk to him. And he left, and I come back out, and Mama was trying to say, Tim, she laid it on me pretty good. And I said, I know, Mama. I said, damn, I should talk to him, whatever. Anyway, he left. He went home. And he lived probably 7 houses out past on the same road, but at the end of the road. And he went home, and apparently they had a pretty big fight between him and her, even her mom chimed in on the situation. So it had got on him pretty bad, and he decided that he couldn't take it no more. And there's two ways. There's 2 ways that you can look at it. And one way, because this guy was, he's a pretty solid guy mentally. But at that moment in his life, he was pushed to making a choice, making a decision, because he was hurt. And when you're hurt, you're going to do things that you never do before. I mean, you're going to say things, you're going to do things, you're going to act out, because your body, your mind is just flipping on you. Sometimes it's hard to control. And he decided to go in his backyard, and he decided he was going to kill himself. And what I think he was trying to do, he was trying to get his wife to come out there and stop him from what he was doing. Well, this is the part that pisses me off. Even the part of me not, saying I was home when he come out there, and that's hard to talk about. But while he was in the backyard tying his rope, he tied his rope on the clothesline, and then he tied another noose and went to put it around his neck. And when he went to lay forward on the clothesline, the rope broke and he fell. Well, the wife and the mother-in-law was standing in the kitchen looking out the window, and they laughed at him, saying the stupid motherfucker can't even kill himself right. I mean, this is the kind of people he's living with. The next door neighbors are standing at their sliding glass door, looking over there in the backyard, watching him, not coming out, not trying to calm him down, not doing nothing, just being an onlooker, just kind of saying, you know what, I live beside them, but I'm not getting involved. Chicken shit. So they looked out the window and laughed at him, and I can imagine they hollered stuff at him out the window. Well, they decided, you know what, I ain't watching this shit. So they went back in the living room and laughing and cussing and running their mouth and doing whatever the them was. He decided, you know what, I'm going to tie this rope again. He tied the rope again around the clothesline. He tied him an even tighter noose. He put the noose around his neck, and he fell forward. And at that moment, I'm still in my mind thinking that he was doing it, hoping that she would run at that door and tell him how much she loved him, that don't do this, I'm sorry, I love you. And apparently he'd been on that rope, had tightened up so much that it had cut off all oxygen and air going to his brain, and he passed out and died. That was one of the toughest things growing up that I had to live with, is because he was my friend, but I could have been a better friend. And I still believe in the back of my mind, if I could have talked to him and put some sense in his mind and trying to level him out a little bit, he wouldn't have killed himself. But I was too tied up in my moments to even pay attention. So if anybody ever calls or come by and says they need a minute and you can tell that their life's in despair, don't do what I done. Give them a minute and show them what true friendship is. And when you get to my age, you're going to be able to count your true friends on one hand, and they're not going to fill up the whole hand. This is Invisible Pain. Like, share, comment. I've got a lot more of these coming. Y'all help me out and get the word out. Thank you, guys.